sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It gives me great pleasure to, on behalf of my family, to welcome my real family to my home. As Brother Shazad said, it is a Monday. It is also the day of coming of Yowm-e-Lassani Paak rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi into this world. And this day has significance because of its connection with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and hence its greatness. And our being here today is in itself a great blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He has made it possible for us to connect ourselves with this day, and through that connection with His chosen special people of Darbari Aliyah Muhammadiyya Eidgah who are connected directly to Darbari Rasid sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, upon which God Himself and all His angels, since He has been and until He will be, send salutations and benedictions upon the most praised one and upon the most beloved of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am personally grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for blessing me with that connection, and I am indeed happy for all of you as my brothers and sisters that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us as a family with that connection. Yesterday we celebrated a life of a lady who was most dear to me and most dear to many of you in this room. Yesterday we celebrated the end of a life. Today we celebrate a much, infinitely much more beautiful life of an infinitely blessed personality, Yowm-e-Lassani Paak rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. And this is a lesson from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that what comes, it comes only to go. And we, as His creation, have to accept the goodness in the coming and the goodness in the going. Or we can remember our loss and get lost in that loss and not reflect on the teachings of His beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And for us who are connected with the holy shrine of the Darbari Aliyah Muhammadiyya Eidgah and who are always in the presence of blessed saints, whether they are in front of us or whether we are unable to see them, they are able to see us. The Shiraz talked about his belief and his firm stance on the righteous lessons and directions of Yowm-e-Lassani Paak rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. I'm going to mention one thing about Yowm-e-Lassani Paak rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, perhaps not as eloquently as others may, but I'll mention it and I'll tell you what I take from that. And it reflects on something the Brother Shiraz said, and it also takes further what Brother Shazad Sahib said also. That we know that on one occasion when Yowm-e-Lassani Paak rahmatullahi ta'ala were in the blessed city of Madinatul Munawwara, and they were going to in person pay respect and salutations in the holy court of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And in the words of the world, they suffered an accident. And in the words of the world, red fluid began to exude from their body. In simple language, they started to bleed. They continued upon the journey which they had taken from where they were resting to the place where they had desired to go. There were a number of people with them who had their own thoughts about how Hazrat Yowm-e-Lassani Paak rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi should react. And that was nothing compared to how Hazrat Yowm-e-Lassani Paak rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi wanted to do or indeed did. They continued, and a number of people, as they became closer to their final destination to pay the respects to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, people who were with them, people who were around them, and the administration, and everybody who saw what they saw were getting more and more worried at every step. And everybody wanted to advise, everybody wanted to say, and everybody wanted to speak, and everybody wanted to do something different to how Hazrat Yowm-e-Lassani Paak rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi were doing. But what did they do? They made an intention. They took a step, then they took another step, and then they took lots of steps. They knew there were people around them. They knew there were people who had goodness in their heart for them, who had servitude for them in their hearts and in their hands and in their feet and in their minds. They were fully aware of all of the thoughts of all of the people around them. They were fully aware of the esteemed, exalted status of the location in which they were at that time. They were also aware of their exalted status. They were also aware of what they were doing, and they were also aware of where they were going. As they came closer and closer to their destination, the accident that had befallen them soon began to reduce, to the moment that when they became so near, what would happen to a mere mortal like me didn't happen to them. That proves to you that these people aren't mortal. Brother Shiraz said that they are living. Absolutely they are. They went and continued to go to their journey. That's just one little story, one event in that beautiful life that we know as Lassani Paak rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. The lesson for me in that is that when you know your destination, there is no need to look right or left. When you know where you are going, there will be many obstacles that will befall you. You will experience many difficulties. You will experience many challenges. You will have lots of people advise you differently, advise you in accordance with their capacity, with their knowledge, with their experience. That's not to say that for mere mortals like me that we are required to ignore all of those. But once you know your destination and you have been given direction, the direction for Hazrat Yowm-e-Lassani Paak rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi came directly from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The direction for me, when I talk about the Vari Aliyah Muhammadiyya Eidgah comes directly from Qibla side, as it does for every single one of you. We all have our relationship with the Vari Aliyah Muhammadiyya Eidgah. We all have our roles with the Vari Aliyah Muhammadiyya Eidgah. We all have our responsibilities, and we all have our rewards from the Vari Aliyah Muhammadiyya Eidgah. Now I know that the duty that has been bestowed upon one of you people in here, one of you brothers or sisters in here, that is not my responsibility. But my responsibility is to recognize that you have been bestowed that responsibility by Hazur Qibla Pir Sahib. And it is upon me to connect myself with your responsibility, that through your success, I become successful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand the lives, first of all, the life of Hazur Yowm-e-Lassani Paak rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. And for those of us who were not fortunate enough to see them with our eyes, they are fortunate enough to see. We are fortunate enough to see them today. They sit right in front of us. They are amongst us. And they will be amongst us for many, many generations to come. If I'm to leave anything for my children, it's the same thing as what my father and my mother left for me. And it is this, that whatever riches of the world you have, and you will have many, there is no doubt, whatever riches you have in your time on this world, take them on one hand and take Eidgah Sharif on the other hand. You should see nothing but the Bari Aliyah Muhammad Eidgah Sharif. If we recognize that as our responsibility, and what I'm about to say to you is not grand words. You can either be part of history, or you can actually create history. We all have the opportunity to create history. We all have the opportunity to connect ourselves like no other people have connected themselves with their Astana. In the UK, and in Europe, and in America, and in the Middle East, and indeed in Pakistan, and anywhere that our youth go, we have a responsibility to serve them. Now, I can stand up here and talk to you, well, you know, Rahib does this, and I'm sure somebody else will say, I do this, and I feel rightly proud of what I do. But what Rahib does is completely unimportant, because Rahib is here today, and he will be gone tomorrow. What is important for us is to do what we're meant to do, what we have been given the responsibility to do. But over the last couple of days, and over the last year, what I have seen and what I have realized is that when one person does something, it's a personal achievement. But when many hands join, it is infinitely more than any achievement that any single one of us in this room can achieve. Now we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to demonstrate to ourselves, just to ourselves, nobody else, to ourselves, and to our family of the Bari Aliyah Muhammad Eidgah Sharif, of how good we can be. Hazur Qibla Pir Sahib have said, they even said this yesterday, that they have the best followers in the world. There is no doubt about that in their minds. But do I believe I'm the best follower in the world? Do we as a group believe that we are the best followers in the world? Because if we believe we are, we need to show that we are. There is a day that approaches, and that day is the 26th of January 2014. It is going to be, inshallah Rahman, the biggest day of our lives. We said last year that that was the best day of our lives. Did we not? Okay, 3 people said that that was the best day of our lives. Did we say the last Rabiul Awwal Sharif Mehfil was the best day of our lives? Are we going to look back and look at that day as the best day of our life, or are we going to look forward and make sure that the 26th of January is the best day of our lives? We're going to look forward. Okay, and here's a challenge. When the day is over, when the job is done, and you can sleep easy, and you can sleep with a smile on your face, then you'll know you will achieve. I know that from today till the morning of the 26th of January, I'm not going to sleep easy. because I'm nervous about the day. I'll tell you why I'm nervous. Not because I don't think we will achieve it. We will make that day the most blessed, the most perfect day that the world has ever seen. These aren't just mere words. And I say that knowing that I'm in the presence of my Shaykh. I say that not with a big head. I say that not to show off. I do not say that to be regarded as somebody big. I say that as a ghulam of the Bari Ali Muhammad Eidgah. Because wherever my Shaykh goes, what they say is that the hands that support them are the firmest in the world. And we know the hands that support them. And which are the hands that support us? They are these hands that we kiss every day. They are these hands that we touch every day. So who is up for the challenge of the 26th of January 2014? Right, who's up for the challenge of, come on, okay. We had a meeting a few weeks ago, and we were energized, and we were enthused. And I'd like to say that the enthusiasm that we had during that meeting is still there. In fact, it's actually growing day by day. But we need to leave today, or we need to leave tomorrow. We need to show our shuyukh, not with words, but with our hearts, that the belief that they have in us. What I say knowing that whatever will happen through His will. And through the sadaqah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What I'm trying to articulate is that how much do we want to be? How much effort are we willing to exert to make that connection of ours to Darbar Aliyah Muhammadiyya Eidgah Sharif? Last year, the shuyukh of Birmingham and the shuyukh of the UK said this straight after the meeting, straight after the mehfil. And they addressed Hazur Qibla Pir Sahib and they said that, Hazur, we have lived here for more than 30 years, 40 years. We have not, and we are established in this country. In fact, we are established in this town. And we have not been able to pull off what your murids have been able to pull off. What the shuyukh have been saying about us, they said about themselves that they have not been able to achieve what the murideen of the Darbar Aliyah Eidgah Sharif have achieved. So we set a bar. You know, when you break a world record, the pressure is on to make another world record. So the pressure is on. I can give you this commitment in front of my Shaykh on this blessed day, that I will do whatever is in my little capacity to do. Whether that's to lead some of you, or whether that's to follow some of you, or whether that is to take some of you to somewhere where you haven't been, or to follow somebody who is taking me to somewhere where I haven't been. And that's not physically from place to place, although I'm willing to do that too. But there is a huge amount of expectation on us from ourselves. We want to achieve even more than we did last year. And more expectation than ourselves is the expectation of the world. And I, for one, have spent my life so far, and I will continue to spend my life so far. And I say this not lightly, and please, don't misconstrue my words. There is a habit that people have that when they listen to a 20-minute speech and they take 2 or 3 words out and say, well, actually, he should not have said that. The most important thing in my life is in my capacity, and my capacity is only this small, in my capacity is to manage the reputation of the Bari Ali Eidgah Sharif. Nothing else. Is everything I do, is it in line with the teachings of the shuyukh of the Bari Ali Eidgah Sharif? Is everything I do, if any news got to my Shaykh about what I do, whatever I do, will they be pleased with what I do? Now, if all of us did whatever we do with the thought that whatever I am about to do, will it please my Shaykh? Then we'll not just be successful individually will be successful collectively. And collective success in our world is much, much, much more important than personal success. Because throughout the history of the Bari Aliyah Eidgah Sharif, what do we always remember? What do we know about the Bari Aliyah Eidgah Sharif? We know the Bari Aliyah Eidgah Sharif as a place. We know Hazur Qibla Babaji Sahib Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi. We know Yowm-e-Lassani Paak Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi. We know Yowm-e-Lassani Paak Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi. We know Hazur Pir Sahib. And we know our Prince. Some of you will want me to call him my king. He is my king. I'm very careful. I don't want anybody to misconstrue my words or think that I am not giving them the status that they deserve. None of us in this room can give these people any status. All we can do, all I can do, I can connect whatever I have to the soles of their shoes. Whether I call them my prince or whether I call them my king, my choice. By me calling them my prince doesn't make them a prince. They were a prince from before the beginning. By me saying they are a king.
Narai Takbir, Narai Risala, Narai Risala, Narai Risala, Narai Aliyah Muhammadiyya Eidgah Sharif.
We have a lot of work to do, and I hope that Pir Sahib will also mention this in their address. If there is anything that Rahib can do to make that event successful, Rahib will. And Rahib does not have any doubt whatsoever that everything that will be done by people in this room and people who belong to the family of the Bari Aliyah Eidgah Sharif. I want you to help me to do two things. Number one, I want you to help me, help yourselves, to take this message to your families and make sure that every single member of your family, whether they are old, whether they are young, whether they need to be carried in their arms or whether they walk on sticks or whether they're wheelchaired, bring them to the event. We will look after them, inshallah. We will. Secondly, we want every one of you, including me, this is for me too, to bring somebody to that event who has not been to an Eidgah Sharif event before. Just one person. Just one person. I know Hazur Qibla Lama Sahib was saying 12 people. I haven't got 12 people in my family, so but if you just bring one person, that hall will be overflowing, and you will have done your deed, and you will have made your sheikh proud, because what they want to see is this message go further and further and further and further. And what would give our sheikh more joy than for us to do what they want us to do? I'll give you one last promise. If there's anything that anybody thinks I should be doing, or any of the people in Birmingham should be doing, and I mention the people of Birmingham because it is happening in our city. Shehzad Sahib from Slough is as much responsible for this mehfil as Mahfouz Sahib is from Birmingham. And as the people from Dundee, they are as much responsible for this event as the people from Cardiff. But the people of Birmingham, the fact that they live in the city, have an additional responsibility. And I just want to wipe away one thing that has been mentioned a number of times with this, that the person who decided where this event should take place is Hazur Qibla Pir Sahib. Yes?
Yes.
Pir Sahib decided and Pir Sahib announced themselves that this Rabiul Awwal Sharif event will take place in Birmingham. I as a Murid should not have any reason to discuss why, wherefore, who, etc., etc., etc. I think there's a saying that my father, I don't know whether he invented it or not, but he used to say, do or die, don't ask why. When the Shaykh has said something, and somebody comes to you and says, my Shaykh has said this, do whatever you hear from that mouth. Because if those are the words of your Shaykh, then it's incumbent on us. There were people at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who did not do what they were meant to do. They said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this, and the people who believed in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they said, yes, if they said this, then I will follow. We live in the example of those people. It is incumbent upon us, when a message from Hazrat Pir Sahib comes to us, to say, Labbaik. Labbaik. I am responsible for that. I know I've taken a lot of time, and I've taken a lot of time because I guess this is my home. I want to say thank you, Hazrat, to yourself. I want to say thank you to Hazrat Sahib Yowm-e-Lassani. I want to say thank you to my blood family. I want to say thank you to everybody who's here today, the many thousands who came yesterday, and the many, many people who, through my connection with you, just the connection with you has brought me. I have not felt any sorrow since my mother left. I haven't felt any sorrow. And I don't say this as all. I genuinely haven't felt sorrow. That's a really bizarre thing for you to hear, that a guy who's lost his mother doesn't feel any sorrow. You know why I don't feel any sorrow? Because when you have as your kingdom, I know the words that are written on the Bari Ali Eidgah Sharif. We are connected with those people. I'm sure I cry because I miss my mum. But what I will take away from these 3 days is that there is a man in the world, a living legend, a true saint, who calls me his spiritual son, who left millions of followers for me. That fills me with much pride. And I know that you have felt that pride too. And what you have said to me is, Rahib, because of you, Pir Sahib have come. Maybe that's how you see it. Maybe that's how lots of people see it. Pir Sahib came because they are Pir Sahib. They've come here today, not for me today. They've come here because that is what they do. Azur, I cannot express my gratitude to you, or to your family, or to my family. But I do just say this, that if you had my loyalty before, everything I do and everything I have from this moment forward is for your pleasure only, for nothing else. Because the door that my father showed me when Yowm-e-Lassani Paak came to this country today is a living example that what I didn't want to follow then, or what I couldn't understand then, what I could not comprehend then, what I couldn't take then, 30-something years later, 20-something years later, I realized that the foresight that is in a man that I call my father is the foresight that it is in every man that is a father in this room, and there is in every mother that exists. I have lost my mother in the sense that I've lost her in the worldly sense. And I leave you all today after having declared my undying loyalty to the Bari Ali Muhammad Eidgah Sharif. And I hope that Hazrat Pir Sahib and Hazrat Sahib Yowm-e-Lassani can tolerate Rahib. And I ask you as my family one thing. I know in the world we get lost, and I know through age, growing up, etc., we have many differences with our parents, especially when there are generational gaps. But take it from someone who cannot see their mother today. Love them. Enjoy them. Do everything else for them except worship them. Because when the time comes that you can't see them anymore, you will wish that you had loved them a little bit more. You will have served them a little bit more. And you will have lived for them a little bit more. For those of you who are young in this room, you might not completely agree with what I say. You might be in a position that I was when my father said, give your hand to this blessed saint. I'm telling you today, for those of you who are parents, love them, serve them. Because when the time is gone, you won't get that time back. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand the lives of our shuyukh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to follow their example. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us together as we are today for the rest of our days. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the sadaqah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, help us to be together when we are risen. Thank you.